Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours.
Our inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from Peyton. It's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Ryusei gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Ryusei right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lures, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Inu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes the Nabla, immediately goes back like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2, 3, so back and forth.
Hello everyone, good evening. It is a pleasure to have you all here once again for Friday Night Overwatch here at CGL. My name is Sam Tonks. Joining me, an incredibly illustrious desk. We have Megalas, we have Spectrion, and we have Geo. We're going to guide us through today's game, that being Bliss Nexus versus Ryusei Cosmic in the EU Masters tier for Stage 2 here in week number 2. Let's go ahead and start with yourself, Megalas. You're joining us on the desk. Well, how are we feeling? How are things looking?
I mean, things are looking super interesting, you know. Obviously, like you said, we're the second half of the season here after this lovely mid-season tournament. Everyone's still, you know, getting back into the swing of things. You got many crazy things going on. And I feel like this match, it could be, you know, an important one for deciding the fates of the rest of these teams moving forward, you know. We're starting to burn that wick a little bit, get towards the end.
It's starting to get, the tension is starting to build, right, Spectrion? This is where, like Megalas was saying, you know, you're starting to shake off the cobwebs a little bit. You know, you had a small break after the mid-season tournament, and now you're here continuing on in the next stage. Lessons need to have been learned, also need to have been implemented.
Oh no, yeah, she's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's something that's much more important. Malga's nerf, he's dead. Get him in the ground. Oh yeah!
Out of here. Go on.
In all seriousness, though, yeah, again, it's a new patch with the, you know, the reverts to some of the mid-season changes. It's still very new. You know, how dominant Malga was means that, again, we're in a whole different ballgame. Teams have not had that long to adapt. And many of these teams really haven't scrimmed on this new patch, so it's going to be blown absolutely wide open for what these teams are going to end up playing. We've seen all sorts of nonsense in OWCS. Some of it worked, some of it really didn't. So we will see exactly what these two teams have begun to lock in. That, I think, is what's going to be the really curious thing for me today.
Yeah, there's a lot of different looks that we've been getting out of OWCS Geo, and a lot of different things that players are latching onto. But of course, Overwatch is in this, especially nowadays, in this ever-changing flux, right? It's never just one form. And that's also what teams need to be. They need to be in that ever-changing flux. They need to be able to take on different roles in different ways in order to find their success.
Yeah, adaptation is one of the key skills for that reason. Being able to find, you know, maybe just one hero choice adaptation could change the game for you, and being on your toes. There's been a few times where even the top teams have been a little too rigid with their gameplay and stuck to comps that have got them stuck in some sorry spots. But in terms of adaptation and changing, one of the teams today, Sam, was one of the first teams of Friday Night Overwatch this season. So I'm really excited to see what the change and adaptation from that team's going to be from the first time we saw them.
And actually, that team you're talking about is Ryusei Cosmic. We are getting another look at them. It's been a long time since then. I mean, jeez and Pete, it has been, it feels like a whole nother lifetime ago. But that's the whole point, right? We get to witness and see what the improvements they've been able to implement are, Megalas.
Yeah, you know, improvements is certainly a word, because their season hasn't been going as great as you could hope. sitting down at the bottom with a nice little 1-4 ranking. But hey, sometimes it just takes the right meta to come along, the right patch to come your way. And, like you said, learn those lessons from those previous losses, really turn the tide around. As long as you got the right mentality, there truly is always a chance to do that.
It's a chance. It's something, Spectreon. We got to hold on to that as much as we can. We got to clutch our pearls and hope for the best. And obviously, we want to get that showing. We want to get that full breadth of what Overwatch is possible and what's capable out of it.
Yeah, I think the last time we saw them play from Cosmic, I think the main standout factor for me was not really having the firepower that was really necessary to compete with their opposition. We'll see if that's changed at all. I hear they are putting in a lot of practice to be able to go blow for blow with any team they go against. Whether they will or not is a different matter entirely. Gotta say, they were my first airball of the season. I'm still 0 for 3 now, I believe, in my predictions. So we'll see if they make me continue the streak.
We'll find out, right? That's what makes the prediction so fun. And hey, I believe in you, Spectreon. I think it's going to be broken. I think tonight is the night. Speaking of standings, let's go ahead and take a look at them. Let's bring that up and get an idea of how things are looking at in this second stage in just the second week of it. And like you said, Ryusei Cosmic all the way at the bottom, Mega last. But our other team, Bliss Nexus, it's not too far ahead, Geo. It's still some wiggle room here.
Yes, there's some wiggle room. Both are bottom half of the standings. This division really has two front runners in Pumpkins and Ushi's Daycare. Munich Esports has done pretty well for themselves, but yeah, we're kind of in the lower half here. So the things to be looking out for are these teams are both quite new. Bliss Nexus and Ryusei only a couple months old, so they don't have that kind of history that other teams have. This is about the long game, right? This is about what's going to happen throughout this season into further seasons and how are they going to stand up to each other. And we know for sure that these two young teams are actually quite friendly. They have a wee bit of a friendly rivalry. They scrim each other quite often. So they'll be familiar with each other going into this, and that might just give us the best of each team.
I like that, though. I like teams that have that rivalry. It pushes you to want to be your best possible version of yourselves. And even more so, you got some information out of the teams that one player in particular, Shadow, took what we said on the cast, on the desk, and on stream to heart. And they have been working themselves to the bone to try and become better, to try and improve themselves as much as they possibly can. And Megalast, that always, it brings a smile to my heart when you have a player who isn't crushed by the criticism, but instead wants to be better because of it.
I mean, absolutely. Those are the types of players that you love to watch because they'll take the criticism and they'll immediately turn that into, workshop material of bringing it back, figuring out where the flaws and how they played before were, and actually willing to improve and things of that nature. It's not something every player is capable of. Don't get me wrong. There's tons of players I've seen and played with over the years that are just, no, I did it right. You're clearly wrong, even though I'm the one that keeps losing. And
hey, that's me.
It's just really, really hyped to be able to see a player sort of bring that energy.
Absolutely.
Like my golf games.
That's what I'm saying. It's always my team. It's never my fault, okay? Please. Let's go ahead and bring up the lineups, though, starting off with no Bliss. This is once again, a team that is... Well, apologies. Never mind. We're going to move actually over into the Ryusei Cosmic lineups. Now, this is familiar, Spectreon. We've seen them before. We've seen how they've worked, how they operate. Wild Reaper, Shadowy, Ultimate Slay, Logan, and Frog.
Yeah, that is the case. I think the thing that we kind of remember most is probably Shadowy's story about taking a shower before game. We were worried that maybe that wouldn't come into the case, but in all seriousness, though, I was largely impressed with what their backline could get done. Frog, especially, as I think was the standout player. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, it was Wild Reapers and Shadowy who unfortunately did get a little bit kicked to the curb in that first matchup, but against their new matchup today, a team they have a little bit more familiarity with. We'll see if they can provide any more of that quality Ultimate Slay looking to bring some of this kind of OWCS career action. They want to play dive competition, they want to go aggressive, they want to increase the tempo, and whether that, ability to punch is going to be brought to bear against their opponents, only time will, of course, tell.
Only time will tell indeed. We'll be pulling up the No Bliss lineup. We're getting that taken care of right now, but I still want some of your thoughts as well, Gio, on what we've been seeing out of this team. You've been able to talk with them a little bit. You've gotten that history out of this team and that knowledge as well that, sprinkle in a little flavor for us here, buddy.
Yeah, well, I actually got contacted by Ryusei for us to be able to cover this today because there is a little bit of history between Ryusei and the team. I mentioned that they're quite friendly and they have this kind of friendly rivalry. Well, there's also a bit of spicy history. Ryusei were formerly of the Bliss org, but there was some, we'll say, disagreements in management. So they moved on to their own org in Cosmic, who have two teams. They've got Cosmic Eternal and Cosmic Contenders, and since then they've been trying things out. They picked up Shadow, who's newer, and they've also picked up Ultimate Slay as well. They're flexing between roles. Mango is a flex player, and Shadow, who we've been talking about, is flexing between DPS and tank now a little bit, which tells me that the team's not afraid to experiment at their early stage of being a team. They're trying stuff out, and that's really exciting for a team to try and find their speciality in the division.
Absolutely. I always think too, right, Megalast, when you have teams that are just newly formed, ones that are still getting used to each other, still getting used to the synergy that needs to be happening, you kind of take these seasons, and especially you take your first time together as a unit just to work through the growing pains. And you may not be able to accumulate the wins, you may not be able to go very far, and you may be sitting at the bottom of the rankings. You're learning, you're gathering, you're building these bonds that are consistently being tested. Hopefully one day, maybe in the future, maybe in next season of CGL, they'll be a completely and totally tour de force.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can look across CGL and see so many examples of this, of just teams, of cores of players that have stuck together. They've learned, they've built that synergy with each other. And they've even been able to, in some cases, grow through divisions and things of that nature. So it's always amazing to see a team that isn't afraid to do that, isn't afraid to put the time in. Obviously it doesn't look as great right now, but being able to sort of lay that groundwork to build towards future seasons, build towards future performances together, it's always going to improve your game whenever you have that level of synergy and trust amongst any players.
Warms my heart. These are the kind of things that I love about tournament settings, and these are the things that I love most about seeing how teams are going to improve upon themselves as the weeks, as the months, and maybe even sometimes as the years go by. But we got a nice fun little segment that we've come up with here on the CGL Friday Night Overwatch desk, and one that I want to start off with Spectrion on, because they gave me a particularly interesting, I'm gonna say, opinion, because this is gonna be a segment that I like to call the hot takes. I actually stole this from old Overwatch League, so I'm not gonna take any too much credit here. But Spectrion, you did have a particularly nuclear take for me.
Oops.
Oh, we lost.
I think that's them out of VC.
His take was so powerful.
They took him out. They got to him.
What? The take was so strong, they're gone.
No.
All right, Gio, you got a hot take for me, buddy. I need takes now.
Oh, my hot take was meant to infuriate Spectrum, but my hot take is that I think Doomfist is not a fun tank to play and play into. I'm one of those old brawl heads in EU, and I don't think Doomfist is very fun punching you about, coming in, coming out. I think it's a really annoying tank, more so than Wrecking Ball.
Ooh, now I do like that. I do think that is a particularly spicy take. And in fact, can we get our caster in here? Hunter Tane, they're just sitting. We lost Spectrion. They're struggling. We need their disembodied voice to give us a hot take. Hey, Hunter Tane, you there? All right. Listen, we lost Spectrion. We lost one of our hot takes, so you need to come in and fill the void, fill the gap. Give me a hot take, Hunter Tane.
Mm-hmm.
Dive in comparison to the Brawl, and especially Poke, which is obviously the worst type of composition.
Okay, I'm gonna give that a level of a little bit of spice. It's not super hot, but I think we got some spice out of that one. What do we think, Des? What do we think, Megalas?
I mean, that one, it's not that spicy. Dive is definitely enjoyable and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Gio, what's your spice level meter?
Winston dive, yes, not Doomfist dive.
Don't worry.
We're hitting the slender up here. All right, Megalas, now it's your turn to give us a. Listen, I need something that's gonna make me sweat here.
Okay.
All right.
So obviously, we've left the Malga meta, and we've ventured into a new realm where a certain tank is reigning supreme, a tank that a lot of people are hating on, but I'll be the one to say it. Orisa gameplay is fun. If you are the person playing Orisa, it is genuinely, actually enjoyable gameplay. It is not brain dead. There's a skill shot with the spear. Your cooldown timing has to be actually well managed in order to be a good Orisa, as well as managing the overheat on your own gun. Literally the only gun in the game with overheat on it. There's so much actual skill and nuance to Orisa, and people are like, lol, brain dead take, and it makes me so upset. I absolutely am an Orisa stan. I will fight for Orisa every day of the week.
All right. Hey, you know what? I like that. You're very, we're getting a lot of very passionate hot takes about tanks right now, specifically, and the compositions that revolve around them. So I'm also gonna go a little spicier than Hunter's take.
Okay.
Maybe like a decent jalapeno. Is what I'm going with here. What do you feel though, Hunter? I think Hunter's struggling. Oh, Hunter's struggling. He's not even in here with us.
Hunter's not in the VC.
I did a very dumb thing. Don't mind me.
You left us. You left the VC. Were you still in here with us on the VMix? But you're like, all right, I'm done here. You're still on the call with us. We can see you.
Hunter didn't like the Orisa take and just had to leave.
Bring up the hot takes and everyone just wants to leave. All right, you're done, Hunter. You're out of here. Bring back Wait, Hunter, you're gone. Get out of here.
God, get out of here. Show him.
Still says Hunter chain. Oh, this is chaos.
Spectreon, listen, buddy, we're getting some issues again. Oh my gosh.
Oh no, that's such an unfortunate pause. Look how happy he looks though. It's because he agrees with my Doomfist take. If you agree with my Doomfist take, say nothing. Okay, that's what I thought.
The face changed.
I love how it changed.
All right, Gio, what's your spicy level for Megalas's take on the Orisa?
Each to their own. It's not as bad as saying that Mauga's fun, but there's a scale, right? Ultimately, anyone that makes me feel sad playing Reinhardt, I don't like, and when Orisa just pushes me away, like I'm some annoying toddler trying to, attack their feet, it makes me feel sad. But otherwise, you know what? I've heard spicier takes than that. I can accept that there's some skill to Orisa, more so than some other tanks.
Ooh, okay, all right. I'm digging that. Hey, okay, Spectreon, are you with us? I'm seeing movement. Are we?
Come see, come ça, I think.
Okay, all right. Hey, I'll take that. I mean, you're still here with us. You haven't. You're a little bit in and out. You're a little choppy. Oh man. Okay, so can you still hear us though?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
It is 100%.
We need your hot take, Spectreon. We need it.
Okay. Give me a second. I need to focus my chi. I need to focus myself. Okay. Why are they playing Brigitte here? Stop it! Immediately! Stop! It's not real! I think it's real! The worst hero in the game! Nah, it's terrible. Get out immediately.
Ooh.
Okay, this is worst in the game?
Woo! This is what I needed. This is the spice level I was wanting.
This is a game with Life Weaver.
You have.
Okay. This is Chris, the Overwatch League coach. He says, and I quote, Brigitte is the war in the game. His words, not mine. So why am I seeing it in my Korean?
This is why I love having Spectrion on, because there's passion behind the spicy take. And honestly, the passion alone is enough to bring me to like habanero levels of spice. All right, this is the tingle that I've been waiting for. Thank you, Spectrion. Gio, do you agree? Is this spicy?
I think so. I mean, to be fair, the coach he calls into question, Christopher, did just have Space Station run into Ents with dive and they got thrashed. So, I don't know if Christopher's following his own words there. Then.
All right. Okay. All right. Megaless, spice levels.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that's a crazy take because again, this is a game that has Lifeweaver, Mercy, Torbjorn, so many other characters you could say is the worst. To say that Brig,
as well.
you know, you're gonna defend the Torb, okay, but to say Brig is the worst,
Yeah.
amongst all of that is kind of crazy. So I'd say that's pretty spicy.
All right. Well, we've got some we've had some pretty spicy takes here on the desk, and I really appreciate it as well, everyone, because it was kind of a last second assignment that I gave you to bring me your hot take. So I absolutely appreciate that. Gio, I saw you sipping on a nice little. Is that your coffee right there, buddy? Is that a?
Yeah, it's my pot noodle mug. We're not sponsored.
Oh,
We could
okay.
be.
Not sponsored.
We could be.
Reach out to us,
Could
Pot
be.
Noodle. We got you. I did an Overwatch. More than happy to eat some. Would we have to eat the pot noodles? I need pot noodles on the
You
desk.
say needs to, like it's not a want.
Exactly. I want to eat pot noodles on the desk. Now, we've had our spicy takes, we've had our hot takes, we've had our lineups, we've talked about the season, we've talked about pretty much everything on the docket here, except for one. Everyone's favorite part of the desk. My personal favorite part of the desk. Prediction time. Let's go ahead and see what we have in store for all of us. 2 Ryusei Cosmic Believers, 2 Bliss Nexus Believers. Now, I'm going to start off with you, Gio, because we're kindred spirits on the desk. You're 3-2 in favor of Ryusei Cosmic.
Yes, so out of the 2 predictions that exist right now in this broadcast for me, this is my chosen one. And the reason why I have it going to 5 maps is I haven't heard ever of a team that's like rivals of another team and they always get thrashed. If you're rivals with a team, you scrim them often. I have to imagine you're competitive. So I'm going to give them a 5 map. But I think Ryusei have shown a lot more heart in terms of what they've said that their process is like, how they've talked about some of their players changing roles, adapting, and especially with Shadow, who had only had 1 scrim prior to the last FNO, now has had, what's it been now, a month or 2? I think Ryusei's efforts are going to start to pay off, because if you keep your efforts up, even though if you don't immediately see rewards for that, it's a compound effect. You know, it's non-linear, it's a curve. So I think Ryusei, they're going to be able to take it today, I think.
Oh, all right. I am personally in that camp, but I think there's going to be some dominance here. Now, Megaless, I'm going to go to you next because you are 3-2 in favor for Bliss Nexus. So still in favor of Ryusei Cosmic just a little bit, but the edge at the end of the day goes to Bliss Nexus.
Yeah, it's like my brain told me looking at this series, it's going to be a 3-1 for Bliss Nexus, but there was something that just couldn't let me type out 3-1, right? My heart told me that, you know, Cosmic, they had a little bit of fight in them. They definitely could get scrappy with it, and this is a team to not underestimate, even looking at where they are in the standings right now. So I definitely feel like there's going to be a bit of back and forth in this series. I think the fact that you predicted 3-0 is wild. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. The fact that 3-0 in any which way for this series would be a wild take, but I don't know. I'm interested to see truly how this does break down.
I stand firm to my guns always in my predictions. It's going to be a 3-0 no matter which team I'm rooting for. Even if I believe in my heart of hearts that it can go to the map 5, it's crazy. I know. I'm sorry. It's just Now, Spectrion, you're 3-1. You're the Bliss Nexus believer all the way.
Okay. Last time I voted for Cosmic, and I'm not going in my favor. So let's try swapping it the other now. I'm like,
Right.
bloody hell.
Yes, you did just a little bit, but we got
We
some. We
heard
got
it.
enough. We got enough out of it.
Good. So, yeah, I see. Yes. So that's my logic. We'll see if it actually ends up coming into play when the game actually starts.
Okay. Well, speaking of Bliss Nexus, we do have the lineups available for them now. Got those taken care of, but yeah, we have Bellamy, Nagi, Ghost 75, Domino Mast, and Chicken Pro. Megalas, any names popping out to you here?
I mean, obviously looking through their lineup, this is kind of what you expect to start out with, right? Nothing, surprising or fancy. I think who you're really going to want to keep your eye on is Nagi, right? Especially with Shadow on the other team being this sort of heralded DPS prowess, even flexing over to the tank when needed. But just having that DPS rival to sort of keep you in check or even try to come out better, right? That's always going to be a fun matchup to watch out for. So I feel like that's definitely who I'm going to at least have my eyes on for this one.
All right, Gio. And what about yourself?
Yeah, I've had some information coming in from Nexus just as we've been on the desk, and I've been told...
Fresh, hot off the presses.
Yeah, right off the presses. It's breaking news, this, Sam. I've been told, in terms of the roster, that Domino Mast is probably one of their best players, and that's really exciting because that means it's the flex support that we can really look at and see how much they're going to be able to really step up. They have actually a player who's injured right now, Rav. They're unable to play because they're injured. So hoping a speedy recovery to Rav. Now that we have both rosters, I want to point out that within the overall rivalry, I've been told of some specific rivalries. Domino and Wild. Domino from Nexus and Wild from Ryusei have a bit of a friendly rivalry going on between each other, so watch out for that during the game. And if Mango comes in on tank, there's a bit of a rivalry with the tank as well of Nexus. So there's a lot of small little beats to keep mind of.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for this. And one more thing, I did forget this. I forgot our casters predictions. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. Now here's something funny. Right? The predictions
Hello,
are just all
caster
over
name
the
2
place.
here. How are you?
Hey, it's 3-0 in favor of CGL, and that to me,
That's
Desk is
accurate.
the best possible prediction. All right, the casters for once are goated, and they're actually correct. Okay, now we have the real ones. All right, Hunter Tane is giving us a 3-2 for Bliss Nexus, and well, funnily enough, Gio, you're also going to be casting. You're going to be our color caster, so you're also. Now, wait a minute here. Gio, wait a minute. Because you were a Nexus believer. What am I looking at here? What's going on?
In my other main passion in life, you might be able to tell, if I move my head a little, you might see all of the 5 ebooks for Dungeons and Dragons behind me. I am a dungeon master at heart. I will out nerd you, Spectrum. I don't care how much you talk about how Brig is bad. Okay, these dice. Okay, they told me that Bliss were going to take it. Bliss Nexus were going to 3-2 it, and while I disagree, I think Ryusei will win it. The dice I can't argue against as a DM. That would be against my code. So the dice have said that Bliss Nexus are going to win it, and somehow Hunter Tane's choice is exactly the same. So I don't know what's up with Hunter Tane and my dice having the same opinion.
Do you think Hunter Tane just copied the homework down to the last possible second? Was like, okay, Gio's dice says 3-2. Bliss Nexus. All right, now it's time for the 3-2. Okay, listen, he left the Discord earlier while we were still talking to them, so anything's possible. Anyways, I think it's time for a game now. So from all of us here on the desk, we're gonna throw it to our casters. Well, wait a minute, Hunter Tane and Gio. Take it away, gentlemen.
This has certainly been one heck of a desk, but let me tell you, it has been the most fun desk that I somehow was barely a part of in the first place, Gio. You look like you had a ton of fun today, and I'm just really excited for this game today, and now even more so after the 30 minutes we just experienced together.
Yeah, that was chaotic. You know, the hot takes, the Overwatch government taking Spectrum down before they could say anything about their hot take. But we got through it. The freedom of the hot take prevailed. But now, Hunter Tain, it's time to come down from the chaos of the desk and into the chaos of the game, as we're very close to actually entering this matchup between two rivals of Ryusei and Bliss Nexus.
Yeah, and both these teams, like we talked about before on the desk, a little further down in the card in terms of standings. And I believe at this point, that's what makes this game very important, because at this point, you do need to start worrying about getting yourself higher up in the standings to get your way into those endgame playoffs, which for teams that are near the top don't have to worry about as much outside of just a little bit of their seeding. But now, there's a lot more on the line being to slow down the card, and I'm really excited to see what these teams are going to pull out due to the fact that we did have these balance changes, and not as many people are leaning towards that Mauga anymore. But Gio, now that we've reached this point where Mauga is not particularly meta, do you think we're just going to fall back in line to what was meta before, where we had a lot of that dive style with Winston, people running the Junker Queen, the Ramatra? Do you think we're going to stay that way, or do you think things are going to just slightly change up a bit?
In OWCS, we've seen teams kind of have a couple different ideas. What comes to mind is Sheer Cold brought Zarya up against the Mauga in this current patch and still got taken out. They were against Space Station, to be fair, so they had a very high-level opponents. We've also seen that the Orisa is a lot stronger now as a counter to Mauga and to Dive. But also, I mentioned it, Dive is alive. You know, I've seen Winston played, and sure, earlier today, Ents thrashed Space Station even when they were playing the Monkey Dive. But if the top teams are playing it in their games, anything can happen at this level of the game.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And we talk about that dive, and I think dive is something that can be pretty prevalent within our first map here today, because we're going to be starting over out on Ilios, a place that is known to have quite a lot of long sightlines, a lot of high grounds to work with, so that Winston can be very effective. But again, in this area of play that we are at, there is a lot more room for skill expression through different compositions. So I think there's a possibility we do see some things outside of that dive style. I wouldn't be surprised to see even a Queen. Maybe we do see that Widow come out once we get over to Ruins. I know Widow's not particularly as good as they used to be, but again, we're at that level where it's like, if you are really good at it and you can make it work, why not do so?
Yeah, in terms of the dive that you've been talking about, maybe perhaps then Ryusei have a little bit of an advantage, because I do know that Nexus prefer to lean brawl style, and we've talked about how Ryusei likes to take inspiration from Korea, who overall have been playing the dive, likely to see the Doomfist come out. So we might see these two different ideas of play clash. And as you said, Ilios, long sightlines on Ruins, that can be very tough for a brawl comp, especially if you dare to run Reinhardt in this day and age. But if you're playing Ramatra, you can do something, but still you're going to struggle against the likes of a Spam or a Dive that's taking angles on you. So I think Ryusei might have the edge in the initial map choice of Ilios, but of course it all comes down to the point you get. Because if you come into Lighthouse, right, you can play Reinhardt, well, a brawl comp. Sorry, you can TP to point, you can force the point. There's options, so it might come down to what points come in what order.
Yeah, we're going to find out here in a moment as we're getting ready to end here momentarily. And it very much goes that way, because when you kind of look a little further down the card of those maps, it does go pretty back to back to back with maps that are very heavily favored towards that rush style and brawl style composition. So for Ryusei, it is very important that they start out very strong here on Ilios. It's looking like we are about to be ready to go, as it looks like, Gio, we're going to be starting out on Well, where I think realistically the rush or the dive here can be pretty effective.
Yeah, there's ways to do it. Playing a Junker Queen, going through the cage side is a playstyle I like on this map, particularly. I'm not a big fan of the gimmick. I'm being honest, that maybe could have been my hot take. I don't like gimmick maps, I don't like Well, worst map in the game. Okay, that's definitely a hot take. Going into Well, against a dive with a Doomfist, you have to be very careful of getting punched, then booped, then punched. You have to be very careful of where you're positioning to do it for Well. My lord, They might just be doing it, Hunter Tane.
No.
Reinhardt's on the field and they're not swapping off. They're coming out with a bit of a spice comp here with the Genji here. I almost want to say I love this. I also want to say I hate this. I don't know how to think about this, but it's going to be very hard against an Echo taking angles on this Reinhardt.
I mean, yeah, Ryusei can just play a bit of a poke style and just literally stay away and just keep blasting away at the supports of Bliss Nexus. That's why Bliss Nexus is just hiding themselves away in this natural cover over here, just waiting for the opportunity of, honestly, somebody to mess up and be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And here comes that aggression coming through. We already see the Immortality field going to be used already. Ghost getting super low, eventually going to be taken care of, but Logan going down is going to make things a little bit easier, but it's really the DPS of Ryusei that are keeping things going at the end of the day, while Reaper and Shadowy able to bring this one back around, and that's the trouble with the composition that Bliss Nexus are running. If you can find someone quickly, great, but if you are exposed for any longer than 3 or 4 seconds, you're just going to get picked off in the open like that.
Yeah, exposed is the word, because if you're going to fail that initial rotation, you're going to get spammed down by Shadowy, who at that point really didn't have anyone to contest them other than Dominant. Going onto the D.Va now does help you there, but sticking to the Reaper now, we're kind of in a flux. This is kind of a half and half comp now.
Yeah, it's in a really weird position, but they managed to get Ultimate, who was super low for a moment, but luckily gets him over health, has managed to stay alive. They really just need to try to drill into them, or at the very least try to force them out. As for the time being, hitting two into a wall, brutal! And now, just like that, Ryusei bringing this one back, and now Bliss Nexus is back to the drawing board once again. Ryusei gonna have, honestly, all 5 coming up pretty soon here.
Okay, Ryusei, noted and jotted down. I like this difference from FNO, from FNO 1. Very different style. Oh, look at this thing. Oh, ghosts. Wild Reaper seeing ghosts.
Wild Reaper has gone schizo on us and did not fight anybody with the Pulse Bomb, but fight's still ready to go on here as Ghost on that D.Va, trying to just take as much headway as they possibly can. In the meanwhile, Shadowy likely to get aggressive here at the copy any moment. They see they come in, but still going to hold on to it for now, just hoping to find somebody with the beam. Lots of bodies, but eventually going to get rid of Domino to get things going here. Copy going to be used. And Bliss Nexus just did not seem ready to go into this, or just the fact that they started so early on in that composition makes it difficult to come back. But now Ghost is going to get knocked out of mech. Oh, no, good immortality. Looks like they're staying in the mech for now. That's massive for Ghost to be able to stay inside the mech.
Yeah, it means they can come back into this one. It is going to be final fight territory now, pushing into both support ults. You only have a beat on your side, so you have to be very careful how you play this one.
Yeah, beat's going to be used on both sides. Logan as well going to go with that Kitsune Rush, really hoping he just forces the supports of Bliss Nexus away. And again, Domino going to be the first one to go down, and just like that, this is just dominance out the gate here from Ryusei, as we just see Ghost come back into the mech just to go directly back out, punch into the wall. And that should just about do it, as Bellamy, the last person standing, wants to try to make it back one more time for a touch, but is not going to have the opportunity. Bliss Nexus with a misread going with that Reinhardt composition to stop, and Ryusei, for a team that's near the very bottom of the standings, they sure as heck aren't playing like one right now.
I know. I'm very, very happy to see this energy, this coordination, so coordinated between Ultimate Slay and the DPS. There are teams much higher in rank that fail at this very basic concept of going in with your tank and coordinating that kind of 3-2-1 dive. Ryusei seem to have it quite down right now. Issue is, they have to keep that. They have to keep that up. If they kind of adrenaline dump in the first point of the first map, it might give them some issue later down the line. But if they keep this up, Bliss Nexus are going to be forced to really question how they're going to go into this one. And in fact, they've decided to almost mirror this one, but bring a Sojourn in instead of this Echo.
Yeah, they also go for that Kiriko again instead of that Baptiste they had for a little while. I think definitively the right choice. Domino just kept getting picked off, honestly, being on the Baptiste, so going to have a lot more survivability to work with here. As for the time being, Ryusei or Bliss Nexus gonna have to play this the same way that Ryusei was, hoping that somebody's going to put themselves out in the open and make the wrong mistake, as Nagi really just trying to hit some pot shots away for the time being. But Bellamy's already gotten rid of their counterpart Tracer, so this is finally going to open up for Bliss Nexus. So they need to come together on a target together, because Bellamy is going on a wild goose chase, and it's Ryusei that's trying to bring this one back. Shadowy does manage to get rid of Domino, but at the end of the day, they need to find one more to really get this going. It's a Doomfist battle. Ghost barely manages to stay alive. Gonna go grab that Mega Health Pack just so they can get that extra health and stay alive, and Nagi unfortunately going to take a nice relaxing trip off the coast, and that's going to be Ryusei bringing that fight back around where it looked for a minute that Bliss Nexus was going to come away with that.
Yeah, not the cleanest, but the ability to stay into that fight, kind of regroup, get your resources back, then push back into this. Very good choice by Ryusei. Bliss Nexus are showing that they don't just play Brawl, they're viable on the dive as well. Ghost matching the Doomfist, and so far, it is looking like a hero that's within their skill set to play.
Yeah, definitely just seemed to be the case. As right now we see Bellamy having that pulse on ready to go. Likely not going to waste too much time in holding on to it. Perhaps just trying to make sure to get that cleanse out of Logan, who seems to be holding onto it for the time being is Ryusei. Trying a little split up on this high ground, but Nagi is going to end up getting caught out. So already Bliss Nexus in a lot of trouble here in this fight. Might just want to consider backing off at this point, not investing anything, especially after the pulse bomb comes out and Domino ends up going down. Ultimate Slay, a fantastic punch, and they'll clean things up there with Ghost. And again, same conversation, Gio. They're gonna beat the fun of it.
No, I don't know how fun that was. If it was a fat finger, oh, that's an ultimate. That's like, oh, they just fat fingered. That's a big opportunity now for Bliss Nexus. They need to get their head in the game, have a very clear plan of what they want. You're looking for the coordination between Ghost and Bellamy, but they don't have as much follow up because they don't have the Echo. They've got the Soldier.
Yeah, 100%ing. And Ghost has gone off the edge, it seems. It's still a 4v4. It is still winnable. But the problem is that ultimate is alive, which means it's going to be pretty much impossible to pull that one back. Shadowy going with a copy, but the copy not really going to achieve a whole lot. Ultimate Slate does go down, so Bliss Nexus should be able to just do a quick regroup here, keep themselves alive, hopefully be able to take this fight because they don't have a chase anymore. We're at 93%. Someone else is going to have to eventually force this point. It's likely to have to be Ghost or maybe Chicken, but we are going to see it go through. The overtime is going to get activated. Going to go hoping to find somebody with a meteor strike. Nobody quite yet, but Chicken Pro somehow gets taken off the edge, and now Ghost. Oh yeah,
again!
They taken a dive off the cliff. And now it is just down to Bellamy, the 1v5, not going to be doable. Ryusei with the clean 100-0 on that one. And this is not the Ryusei of old. This is a brand new Ryusei who is just firing out the gate here on Ilios.
I mean, I talked about the payoff of hard work. This is what it looks like. And the fact that Shadow's getting to play of the game in the first map just goes to show that this team has worked on their game. They've worked on their coordination to an amazing degree. The target priority and the 3-2-1 engages on the dives are looking very, very clean. And suddenly my dice are trembling because it looks like that I might have just been right with my prediction. And with Ghost, okay, one time, oopsie. Second time, uh-oh, that's what we call a low light. And you definitely don't want a CGL low light on that one, that's for sure. But hey, I'll tell you what. Here's the defense, right? Ghosts can go through walls. Maybe Ghost fell through the floor, right? Maybe they did. Yeah, maybe they fell through the floor. Look at these stats. Stresh only died goose egg times. 0. No deaths.
Insane. And then look at the polar opposite side over at Nagi, who has 9 deaths. Unfortunately, I mean, once they got on that Sojourn, every time that slide came out, we just saw the commitment from Ryusei, and Nagi kept dying every single fight. It's, I don't know. This is a tale of a different team here in the second half of the season, and it's really impressive to see all of these stats here, especially Ultimate's play over 8,000 damage within those 2 rounds, and those were quick rounds, mind you. That is a lot of damage to get. It was essentially like 5 minutes, like insane.
Yeah. We set up that maybe Ilios would fit Ryusei a bit better. Yeah,
a little bit.
I think it did actually. I think there was some bad reads. Right, I will never, ever flame a team for playing Reinhardt. I will always commend it because it's honest Overwatch, and they should have just given them the ability to one shot with a damage boosted fire strike, as in like the window. Why didn't they do that? I'm going to start going on a rant if I'm not stopped, but yeah, the Reinhardt into well, even when Reinhardt's been strong, that's a little bit of a stretch, and Shadow was just having a field day in the sky. They went to the Diva, and I think they adapted a little slowly. But there's more maps, Hunter. We're going to King's Row now.
Yeah, and this is where we might actually see that Reinhardt composition perhaps come back out, but this does create the question. Ryusei just more or less dominated on that composition. Do they still try to run a variant of that Doomfist style if they feel like they can keep the pressure on Bliss Nexus, who was just having a really hard time dealing with it? And if we're going to double down on that statement, does Bliss Nexus decide to do something a little bit different, almost in anticipation of that Doomfist comp coming back out? Because if you're rolling with something and it's working, what's the point of fixing it?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Don't adapt until you need to, you know? Some teams really catch themselves out and they go for something kind of like a Hail Mary, you know, like on a map 5, they'll play Brig on Circuit Royale, and while, like, you can see the working, in practice, where did the Brig come from? You weren't running maps with Brig. For example, talking to Nexus, they recognize, just like Ryusei do, that they're not the highest level team and that they have stuff to work on. I mentioned that both these teams are pretty young as rosters. Nexus only being together, Bliss Nexus being together for 3 months. They know that their communication could be better, and on a dive, that's where you really see that communication difference. But I gotta imagine now we're going on to King's Row. They brought Reinhardt onto Well. They're gonna play Reinhardt in King's Row, right?
Yes, but there's something to know as we're looking at the roster swaps. They didn't swap out players; they swapped around players. Domino, who was previously on support, is on DPS now, and in return, Bellamy, who was on DPS, is now on support. So I know there are players that do go between multiple roles for specific heroes, but what could they possibly be cooking in this situation to be swapping up their DPS and their support into different roles? I mean, realistically, why?
I'm thinking, here's the idea. Maybe Domino and Bellamy swap out when they want to try and play the Reaper, because I'm pretty sure it was Bellamy who was initially out on that Reaper. I think they tried a little bit of spice, they tried to cook, but they ended up not quite getting there. So maybe that was the idea. But with the swap up, you know, the hero posted there is Tracer, but of course it could be anything. Maybe Domino as a flex support has those sniping abilities. So maybe we see something like an Ashe come out. An Ashe paired with a Reinhardt comp can create a kind of alleviation of one angle. One angle can be alleviated by that kind of Ashe controlling it so that the Reinhardt isn't dealing with too many angles, and it kind of creates a nice synergy. So we'll see if that's the idea.
Okay, so we just have to come to a conclusion. There's clearly a handshake agreement somewhere, because now Shadowy and Ultimate Slay have swapped positions. So Shadowy on the take now, Ultimate Slay on the DPS. We gave a great analytical dive as to why the first one kind of made sense. Now it really feels like these teams just shook hands behind the scenes and said, you know, let's swap up our players a little bit. Let's see what happens. Do you think that's what happened here, honestly? Like,
I mean, it's very likely these teams, they play each other often, so they know each other kind of in and out, which tells me if Shadow is coming in, I do think that Mauga's not a mistake. I think that Mauga there is a choice, because they did tell me that they've been practicing Mauga, and when they said that they've been swapping tanks and being flexible, I was thinking to myself, is that cause of Mauga? Is that because Ryusei are going to bring a Mauga out against a Reinhardt and absolutely cheese grater the German? If that happens, then I feel bad, and it is going to be tough. You can't play around a Mauga as a Reinhardt with the shield, but time can only tell. Okay, no, it's Nearest. Okay, that makes... Okay, I understand that one, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and right now Ryusei coming on this defense, gonna... Ooh, they go back, they change it over to the Sigma. I like this a lot. This is very reminiscent of something that you would see on, like, a Circuit Royale, but they're gonna play it here on King's Row instead, so... maybe there is some level of anticipation that Bliss Nexus will come back with something in the Brawl style, but if they're diving... If they just execute this dive well, they make sure they narrow down this target, whether it's going to be Shreddish, whether it's going to be Logan or Ultimate, whoever, they can make this work. So Ryusei does need to play this extremely well to be able to hold over that first point area.
Yeah, only the Immortality Field to potentially save a Zen when they're being dived. Domino just going to swap off here onto the Ashe. Create some poke, but is going to struggle against a double sniper to get those angles, even with the Zen as well. Domino might regret this choice, need to go into something like a Tracer, create some angles, deal with this impending Widow.
Yeah, 100% is already Nagi going to be down. Bliss Nexus just eliminated very quickly. And I mean, originally going to that, Ryusei had people that got super low as well. It looked like they were going to lose Tritus at some point, but fortunately not going to be the case. The Shadowy just has to back up, and Bliss Nexus, they have to try to force themselves onto these high grounds, at the very least.
And when you're talking about a DPS player flexing to tank, you don't really think, oh, it's because of Sigma. That was close by a while. Sigma is not the easiest tank to understand, especially for DPS players and other people in the role in terms of where you want to position, when you want to utilize that shield. So this is a big style play here from Shadow.
Yeah, 100%. Already at 75% to that Flux again, nearly taking a head off once more. Getting so close to doing it, and Shadowy really just trying to hold down these angles as much as possible. Shadowy getting a little aggressive in here, realizing Ghost is low, wants to bring on the pressure, getting them super low, but Nagi again going to be the first one to go down as the Immortality Field comes up. And here it comes, the free Flux. Should get at least 2, and it's just going to slam away more of Bliss Nexus, and they do, however, manage to get Ultimate Slays in that meanwhile, so they should be able to regroup fast enough to potentially do a 5v4 push.
Yes, Ghost has went on to the Sigma, and you're still playing the Ana. You're playing for Nano Blade, but the Blade's a little bit slow here. Go rotate to this high ground, create that angle, give your Ashe that a boost, because right now they're up against the Widow, who has just utilized their ultimate, can see through the walls right now, creating up a little bit of pause for Nexus. We need to be very careful on how they push into this Dragon.
Uh-oh. Yeah, the Dragon gonna split them up, so now it's 3-2 split for the time being, but not really taking advantage of it, Ryusei, so they really are just gonna let them stay split apart by themselves a little bit of time, which is gonna be weird now because Bliss Nexus has 3 ults of their own about to be ready to go. The last, all 5 not too far away. FC Domino just setting up on a pot shots, and the Bob unfortunately gonna fall in a really bad spot, unfortunately, as for the 3rd time in a row, Nagi has gone down first in the engagement. We're trying to see if maybe they can get 1 tick on this point, but the numbers are already too much. They have to back out. They're likely not even going to fully make it, as Ghost is 1. Going to be taken out as well. And Ryusei, I mean, this is, I will say it again, this feels like a whole different team, as Bellamy, unfortunately, get a little staggered out.
Yeah, they're looking real good on this spam, I will say. Even Shadowy, who's flexed onto a roll ultimate as well, getting those eliminations with the hands. So I liked when Shadowy went off into a different angle there, created kind of a dual angle, made it very hard for Bliss to push in here. There is going to be the Flux ready. There is the Transcendence, however, on the side of Ryusei, but it's gone.
What? Okay, well that's perfect. That is your best case scenario right there. Ultimate Slay is literally playing hide and seek in the backline apparently. But still, I mean, Bliss Nexus still needs to make this fight happen. I don't care if it's a 4v3. They're gonna invest with that nano, really double down, throw the blade as well. Why not throw everything at the kitchens? Why not? I just want to see the Transcendence come out in return to keep Logan alive. I don't know how I feel about that, as Logan ends up dying anyway to Domino. So finally, Bliss Nexus is gonna manage to cap the point at last. It took basically everything, and I don't know how I feel about this at all anymore, Gio.
We're starting to get a glimpse of the Widow working for Domino. Wild Reapers is going to open up the ult, but it is going to be countered there. We're still running as Ana, which is a little bit of... It just doesn't quite work. However, it will give you the anti-need when things get brawly. That's the main thing for you.
Oh my god, that is a massive headshot onto Wild Reapers, and here we have the 4v4. But at the end of the day, that Flux coming through is going to help a little bit, but at the end of the day, Ryusei eventually going to force their way through the rest of Bliss Nexus. That's a big anti onto Shadowy, though, who's going to be forced out. And guess what? That Immortality Field gets used as well. So if everyone can stay alive from Bliss Nexus, they should be able to push this without that being available.
All the way up to their spawn here, they're showing some aggression. If they got a pick here, this would be quite massive. The deflect wars right in the wall of the spawn. You have to be a little careful here. The ultimate slate doesn't get caught out. It is going to back up. They're really holding on to this Transcendence now. They don't have a Flux to deal with. There's going to be a window, and Transcendence isn't very good at the window. There's a lot happening here, Hunter Tane.
A lot happening, but at the same time, almost nothing is happening quite yet. It goes super low. Domino, there we go. Another shot going to get rid of Shreddish, and now this fight should be able to open up from here. You don't have to worry about the Discord anymore. Won't have to worry about kicking away if you go for a short dive here with Ghost. But really, the issue is that no one else is realistically should go down from Cosmic. If Nagi, again, is going to be the first one to go down for their team, going to put that pressure onto Wild Reaper, who's going to manage to barely get themselves out, and literally body blocking the D.Va so they can't get out. And now they're going to get a small bit of staggering. Bliss Nexus, again, going to have to take the reset here with the 4 they have remaining. And they just can't get much progress. They're staying in these fights, but they're not getting the necessary picks, Gio.
No, and Nagi is really struggling to find value here against this spam. There's so much to pressure them out. And so it's already a trade, and it is Nagi that goes down.
Yeah, and already going down again, but it's the fact that things are still back and forth. And Nano gets invested. Why not? Go for the backline. You do not need to go for the Sigma. Go after Logan, who is keeping Shadowy alive. And as we see in the backline, trying to find something with the blade, gonna have to use the Transcendence to be able to stop it. So finally, they have the area to do something. But again, go for Logan. There we go. They have heard me. They are going for it. The Immortality field is forced out. And we're coming down to that final fight. The Flux comes up, going to catch on to 2. The Sleep not going to hit. He's going to try to get rid of them. Does manage to get rid of Bellamy already. Chica Pro just has to chill in the background. And Ghost, this has to be the biggest bomb of your career. Going to have to set it up in the air, but is just kind of holding on to it. It's just going to drop it casually on the point. Nobody should die to that. They're going to manage to remac, but it's not going to mean anything in the end as Ghost is just trying to survive on point for as long as they can. But Bliss Nexus just cannot get it together against Ryusei, who are playing this comp super well and are almost constantly getting the first pick of every fight. I don't know how to describe it better, Gio.
A lot of trust in their Widowmaker. Wild is really, really stepping up to the plate. We've been told of that rivalry between Wild and Domino. We really, really saw it come into play there on the Widowmakers, and I feel like both they may still stay on the Widowmakers. Yeah, Nagi is struggling to find value because there's so much pressure against them. If they dash in, it's over for them. They need to use that dash to get out. It means they can't really get in. It's a very tough spot to be in, so it's not really an individual thing. It's more just the hero in that situation. And I just want to go on a different tangent here. I've just noticed on the sheet that Bellamy is Scottish, so I have to shout that out. I have to mention it whenever that happens because it doesn't happen that often. But it's a very interesting idea to have the Ana rather than a Baptiste. It does give you the nano, but those nanos and the blades were just a little bit out of sync. We bring those into sync, then we can get some things rolling here. Usually, I think we saw the nano go on to Ghost at one point there as well in the D.Va, which is, you know, it's a fine choice, but it's not your number one choice. Shadowy is top fragging. Shadowy is top fragging. There's no analysis here, Entertain. It's a statement.
It is very much a statement. It is factual. They are. And Shadowy going to be out on the Orisa this time. Going to bring some aggression as Domino. There we go. That's the opening pick you want to see. Wild Reaper's already going to be down. And make that 2 for them. Hoping to make it a 3rd as Nagi going to go down again. But it should still be in the favor of Bliss Nexus, who's trying to keep Domino alive, but doesn't. And for some reason, Logan's the one fragging now, managing to find 2, and Ryusei somehow win that fight. And for Bliss Nexus, oh boy, they are already majorly comp swamping. This is not a good situation, as Ryusei is going to cap this thing in less than a minute, mind you. Incredible.
Yes. Clutch from Logan. What you want from your backline. Domino showed some domination, but their position, they got forced into a situation where it was a little negative for them. You have to watch out, especially if that Arisa's going to be pushing you about. And obviously, I can imagine on the desk, Megalance is quite happy seeing the Arisa come out.
I'm just a slight bit I am as well. See in the backline, Wild Reaper is just kind of chilling out and is not in a good situation. Almost gets their head taken off, but is going to manage to escape for the time being. As there's already a lot of progress getting made as Ultimate Slate does manage to find Nagi first again. And for Bliss Nexus, this fight's already come to an end. And it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get out. Bellamy is just going to have to run into a corner and die. And Chicken Pro is going to manage to get out, luckily. But, I mean, Bliss Nexus can't get anywhere on this. They're just constantly swapping every fight now.
Yeah, they've been pushed very, very far back. There's 4 minutes here. Bliss Nexus, they're running at it. The Ghost has swapped onto the Wrecking Ball. If it's in his wheelhouse, then they can get something done with it. Otherwise, it does seem like a little bit of a panic choice to get into that backline and deal with these snipers of Ultimacy and Logan.
I mean, that's honestly what it feels like at this point. We're coming on to that final fight. The Bob is going to come out. The Bob is literally going to fly all the way away, I believe. And now it's going to be Ghost to try to hold on to this point for as long as they can. And here come Ryusei. Just hit every Q to take this one away. Ghost going to be the last person standing. And Ryusei dominantly win King's Row, put themselves in match point. And Gio, I legit do not know how to put it better. Ryusei seems like an entirely different team from a team that was very at the bottom of that standings. They're such a force right now. I don't know if Bliss Nexus is just having themselves an off day or just Ryusei just leveled up while they were sitting during the mid-season, mid-season tournament, but this team has made massive strides and it is clearly showing.
They certainly have. I mean, Bliss Nexus is just getting taken out. I think they're getting the wrong end of the stick of a team that's coming here with something to prove. Ryusei has a lot to prove, especially after how the first Friday Night Overwatch went for them. So they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time against a team that's really, really hungry for this, Hunter. And you can start to really feel it, especially now in the scoreline, as it is match point. It's 2-0 now to Ryusei. And I believe no one has predicted that, so we would all be wrong on the desk and casters if that does come to fruition. But there is time for Bliss Nexus to start to hit back. There's fights here where you can clearly tell that there's a lot of competency with Bliss Nexus. They just need to find that magic factor that works against Ryusei.
Yeah, and it's really the question of figuring out what that is going to be, because these teams do know each other to some extent, but everything that we've seen has just shown that there is just this dominance coming through from Ryusei as we're kind of taking a moment and look at the stat comparison. And I mean, look at that. Shadowy, almost 12,000 damage, only 1 death from them and Logan. Meanwhile, you look over at the side of Bliss Nexus and you see 8 deaths, 10 deaths. It's just -1 ults. Man, that is something else.
Yeah.
-1.
The tale of the tape is very stark here, and again, very few deaths from some of these members. Shadowy dying once as a tank player just shows how much confidence there is between the support lineup and Shadowy, and how they are positioning quite well as that Sigma and keep themselves alive as Orisa. And on the DPS line, that kind of rivalry we've been talking about, it isn't as one-sided as you might have thought in terms of Wild Reapers and Domino Mist, because that kind of duo are really working for their team as individuals, and they both have matching eliminations and solo kills with only 1 death of a difference between them. So as individuals, this specific little rivalry within the overall rivalry is very back and forth, you could say.
Yeah, and I love seeing such this small margin of these stats that we are seeing between these two right now. Like, take into account the damage done, you can easily, come back to the fact that weapon accuracy is much higher. So it's really impressive to see what they both are doing, being so contested like this. I just wish this was the case for the other 8 players right now on both sides. Just unfortunately, it's not at that point right now, but there is definitely still an opportunity for them to do so. But it's a tough one to be able to come back from. Anytime you have to play from behind from 0-2, it's the reason why we don't see map 5s very often in this game, especially reverse sweeps. That's why they're so special to us,
Yeah, it is very special, and it's not off the cards at all. like we've talked about a lot, these teams have played each other quite a lot. It means they're competitive. And Bliss Nexus, they've shown that while I think overall the compositions that are being run, Ryusei's just had the better hand of it. I think if they get some maps that are kind of more into their strength, or if they find something that works a little harder, they've been a little spicy. They have been attempting to cook, and I like that. I do like that. In the long term, the longevity of a team, it's good to see that, and it means that they're not afraid of trying something new, going for different compositions. However, it's a little too spicy. Bring the spice down just a notch, and we might be in the sweet spot for reverse sweep.
Yep, it's definitely going to be a possibility, but of course, you're going to have to wait and see because we are going to head to our little halftime break. So we'll be back to you in 5 minutes to see if Bliss Nexus can somehow pull off the reverse sweep.
Definitely feels like there needs to be a touch more subtlety on the approach. At least let the ball exit. This is a live feed of England trying to score a penalty against the nation of Paraguay. Simply impossible. Okay. CFE for... Well, at least you tried. What's going on back here? Alright, nice angle of approach here from Crimson. In comes the... Please don't tell me the Fox is going to go down the hole. I feel like you're about to put this Fox down the hole. I've got a real bad feeling you're about to put this Fox down the hole. Fox? Fox? Work with us here, Fox. Work with us. Make it over. Oh. Ah. Well, guys, if you want the second half of a Kitsune Rush, you can find it in our Patreon, which is down here. Oh, my... Guys, don't kill J-Wiz with a reflect. No! Guys, we killed J-Wiz with a reflex! Something makes me feel that Genji does not have access to this projectile, so I knew who it was. Whee! Oh, don't you look cozy? Me in my 10 square feet New York apartment, looking out the window and longing for a better life. You do match the roses, though. Okay, value out of a full HP Meteor Strike, I suppose. Those sneaky little mines when they roll a nat 20 on stealth. Oh, he was so focused on the kill. What? Oh, goes for the... What goes to the wall climb? Oh, no. He goes to wall climb. He gets messed up by being knocked back by the mine. And I think it caused him to fall into the other one. Oh. Trace with a punch. Where was she? Oh. What? Oh. Oh, I think Phantom was trying to counter-punch Leaky, and the Tracer just gets in the way? Yeah. Beautiful. And she just goes freaking flying. Absolutely launched. Whee! All right, time to test. What will a Doomfist do? Let's check that HP. 72. What will he do? That's what the Doomfists do, baby. Every single time. My god, that kunai just going straight through the head.
Welcome back, everybody, from our halftime as we are here once again with Ryusei versus Bliss Nexus, already in a 2-0, and Gio, a rather dominant 2-0 after our first two maps. And for Bliss Nexus, this is not what I expected, for their backs to be very much pressed up against the wall, because they have tried a lot of things. They have shown that they have the ability to fight back, but Ryusei is the team that has shown that they can shut it down almost every single time.
Ryusei have shown that they have worked, really worked on their coordination, their communication, and their understanding of the comps that they've been running. That Doomfist dive that they ran on Ilios was better than some GM teams that I've seen. Some near like tier 2 level teams have failed to have that level of coordination sometimes and kind of rest on their laurels and their mechanics. Ryusei certainly isn't. They've had great follow-up on those dives, and even when they went to spam and poke, and a more of a poke spam composition on King's Row, they showed their versatility, especially with Shadow and Ultimate Slay, being able to swap roles and still doing really well on those swap roles. That's a massive boon for a team to have that level of flexibility.
It 100% is, and I'm really excited to see what that flexibility is going to bring for our next and potentially final map, as we're going to be going into Flashpoint, and it'll be Suravasa. Now, when we go over to Flashpoint, this does open a big sector to bring in those rush-style compositions once more. I know we haven't particularly seen the Queen yet. We saw little bits of that Reinhardt. I think if there were ever a time for us to see it, it might be now. But, I mean, if anything for Ryusei, I think there's a good chance they bring back out that that Doomfist style, play it similar to a Junker Queen style. That's what I think would be best. But I mean, my curiosity, honestly, goes to what Bliss Nexus wants to run in return. Do you try to match that Doomfist composition once more? Because they weren't terrible about it by any means. They just couldn't coordinate the same way that Ryusei could. Or do you just go back to your own style? You try to force either the Diva style or even the Reinhardt style, for all we know. Because the answer is not one that seems clear to you or perhaps even I, honestly.
It's a question, right? And with, again, yet another flex happening with Bellamy now on the DPS and Hamburger coming in for the support line, adds another question. You know, we did see that Bellamy was originally on DPS and Domino was on support. Now both Domino and Bellamy, who have been on support, are now duoed now on the DPS. Bellamy played Reaper, and I'm failing to forget what they adapted to on Lighthouse. But if we're talking Brawl, which you very much can do with Suravasa, I very much think any Flashpoint, either Flashpoint, is very good for Queen. Also very good, typically, for Brawl teams to run Ramatra on. So it just goes to show that you can play the Reinhardt. You have to be very careful, though. You have to be getting good charges if you're against a Ramatra. You have to be getting good charges to get the best out of your ability against that hero. If you're up against a Mauga, sometimes you're just gonna have to hold your shield and pray, and pray your team takes down Mauga before that shield breaks and they start self-healing.
Yeah, you're 100% correct about that. As we saw the other swaps as well with, Carlos and Frog being brought in, which, I mean, there's the question of whether this is just legit swap or this is you trying to get, honestly, some people that have subs trying to get them in and bring them some playtime because, honestly, with the way things are going, they have a lot of momentum on their side, but we're going to see in a moment because, obviously, I mean, call me crazy, Gio, but I think the person named Frog might play Lucio. I think that's a hot
crazy.
take. Crazy.
That's a crazy, insane take. I don't know about that 110. Wait, what? Who would have seen it coming? Yeah, Frog, yes, it looks like they are going to go to the Lucio. Sticking with the Orisa now with Shadowway on it. Did really well in that second half. Kings Row on Orisa. It's fair enough. Junkrat. Okay, we're in Spiceland. Wait, Torbjorn? Okay, we are on Arrakis. Okay, no, Somber makes sense. Okay, no, Sodrum makes sense. Yeah, I think ultimately here, Ryusei is probably going to want to play this a little bit more pokey and proddy, where Bliss Nexus, they might be better up in this brawl, getting those Fists of Fury of Ramatra up in the face of Ryusei.
Yep, 100% as Bliss Nexus. I do like the Ramatra style quite a bit. I think this can combat into that Orisa style, but we're back in the situation where Bliss Nexus is going to have to focus on trying to isolate a target, but look at that wall. Part of it just got shattered within a couple of seconds, able to free Shadowy almost immediately, and now Ryusei should have no problem taking the first cap on the point as Bliss Nexus just has to back out and perhaps, honestly, take a bit of a different angle this fight.
Nothing should fear you more than seeing a Jade weapon on a Junkrat. That means they really like the character, and no wonder.
Yeah, and Domino already going to be down. Literally just spamming in a ton of damage, and Carlos might just go for this early. I would not be surprised, but it seems like they're going to just try to get out. Ghost getting extremely low, going to get the immortality to be able to stay alive, potentially going to be pushed back in a moment, and Frog does manage to go down, but that doesn't make it any easier for Bliss Nexus, who are going to manage to find a good pick on the Ultimate Slate. Things are back and forth, but the whole while this is going on, Ryusei is just backing up, regrouping, and they're at 50% and counting. Bliss Nexus really only going to have this next fight to be able to take it back.
Carlos is sneaking on this side. Oh! Massive tire! And that turns it all around. Ryusei were regrouping, and that's just sorted it for them. They'll be able to get this point now. If you're going to try and touch as Bliss Nexus, it's going to be very staggered. You're probably best just waiting for the next point, regrouping and going in. You've got your support ultimates. You can get a good setup with this window to get this next point kind of in an early control for yourself. You do have to watch, of course, for the opposing window, because they'll have Junkrat grenades going through them and mines. That's dangerous.
It is very dangerous. Bliss Nexus do have a lot to work with, though. They do have the double support ultimate. They're going to use that window right away. Just going to try to keep Ghost alive, but then literally not hitting Ghost. And Ghost is in dead street, but it's somehow still alive for the time being as they invest that freeze as well. And Hamburger is not going to heal themselves in time, so Bliss Nexus throw 2 ultimates at the wall compared to Ryusei's 1. And Ryusei just comes away the winner once again. And again, Bliss Nexus just can't get anything going against Ryusei. The amount of spam that is going down their throats is unbelievable to go through. And I think that's partially why they're going to opt for the Zarya instead.
But yeah, going for the Zarya does mean that it's harder for Carlos to control those grenades. They're going to end up hitting that shield of the Zarya. It's all about shield management now for Ghost to make sure that they don't go into a fight without any of those bubbles available. Overclock's ready from Domino. We know how good they are, and Bellamy goes down already.
Oh, no. And oh my goodness gracious, Ultimate Slay does manage to get the trade out, though. So this is still very much in the favor of Ryusei, who honestly could, if they wanted to run these things down, they could, but Shadowy really just wants to focus on staying alive, pulling back. Bliss Nexus is going to be able to set up for one more fight, but I mean, they're going to have the beat as well as that overclock. They're great tools, but it's been hard to see them take advantage of them thus far, honestly.
Yeah, Domino Mast has done really well at doming the Tracer, has the overclock now on the flank.
Ooh. Yep, backing up a little bit as Logan just somehow needs to be in a 1v1 as Carlos is going to help them get rid of Bellamy while Logan was in a 1v1, still alive as well. And it's just bringing that to Domino, who just cannot get anything going. And again, Ryusei going to clean things up here, going to bring themselves 1 sub point away from winning this extremely cleanly. And Bliss Nexus, again, drained the bank to try to
That
win
was
that fight
Looney Tunes.
unsuccessfully.
That was absolute Looney Tunes. Logan, like, just kind of bringing Bellamy over, and then the tire getting them like it's a mousetrap, and then Logan getting a triple kill. Ryusei are on some cosmic levels of spice right now, and it is working for them. Bliss Nexus are kind of scrambling to see if they can throw something at the wall, if it can stick. They've got a pocketed soldier right now, and I think investing resources into Domino Mast is a very good idea for Bliss Nexus.
Yeah, Bellamy does manage to get rid of Ultimate Slave pretty early on. Quick little combination works out. And they're going to go for the window for the time being. Logan is just getting halted into, though. And finally, it is looking like we should see Bliss Nexus come away eventually with the win on this fight. But Shadowy is staying alive and is going to go for the investment, hoping to get rid of one. Is going to somehow find on the Ghost. Is keeping this alive as they're going to manage to find two. Domino taken out. And with Chicken Pro still being alive, they're going to find a really hard ability to be able to come back. This stick comes through. He's going to get rid of Hamburger. Going to be able to potentially set up some kind of res, but Chicken Pro is just out in the open now. Manages to help get rid of them as Bellamy is back. The res comes through. Bliss Nexus nearly threw that fight back down the drain.
That was very, very close to Ryusei bringing it back in control. Nexus were able to keep their cool, get that in, and now that they're set up with this pocketed soldier, it's going to be a lot harder to push into. Shadowy's now adapted to the Zarya, maybe feeling the sting of not being able to help their team in the dives against the D.Va.
I hear that tire. Bellamy is hunting. They're looking. They're searching. There's no immortality field, by the way.
Oh!
And it's going to go. Oh, Logan hit with a jump scare, taken out. Bliss Nexus, this is their opportunity to get rid of Shadowy, and they're going to do exactly that. And now, if you manage to find one or two more, you're going to make this touch really difficult for Ryusei, but they will be able to regroup. They will be able to get one more clean touch, but they're just going to have that tire from Carlos, which, you know, in the past, has proven to be sufficient enough on its own.
I was going to say, you say just, it has so far been quite the impactful ultimate. They have to be very careful of it, though, as Torbjorn comes around the side here. Here's the tire. Watch out for the tire.
That thing's gonna explode in like 3 seconds. They need to find somebody. Gonna go through, going to find nobody. I think releasing from just a little too far away, a little ambitious. And Bliss Nexus, this is their opportunity to get their first sub point. But Domino gonna be taken out. The trade-offs are coming back and forth right now. Bellamy staying alive is so important. As a matter of fact, Ghost is massive, and they're gonna remech as well. So Ghost does have that bomb as well. They'll be able to double back into the mech. Just need to make sure Hamburger stays alive. Need to get rid of Shadowy. And Bliss Nexus have finally taken a sub point, and they're keeping themselves alive. And Gio, that was close, but could we see the beginning of this, a reverse sweep within a reverse sweep? Honestly.
It very much feels like it, because you can really feel it when not only are they starting to get wins, they've now got a point on this map. Also, they're forcing adaptations from Ryusei. Ryusei are starting to scramble themselves now. And I have to say, that res was a godsend for Bliss Nexus. Chicken Pro really earned the pro in the chicken.
100%. And now Frog gonna have that beat ready to go. And Ryusei coming up on a lot more as well, but if Bliss Nexus decide to take this quickly, it's really all they're going to have. But Bellamy's already down. You lose all that spam damage. Carlos is going to be able to get a ton of ult charge off of this fight, as the bomb is going to get invested, perhaps to try to find the flip. They get really close to getting it. Unfortunately, you don't really need to step off that point, but they will. The beat gets invested. In Bliss Nexus, they do manage to get that point unlocked. So now you are almost just playing purely for the stall for as long as you possibly can. You've got both the support ultimates out of Ryusei, which is perfect. Now you can throw in that Bob for the next fight, as Domino is investing anyway, and now you find Shadowy in the background trying to do some damage. It's you were right earlier. You called this Looney Tunes. This is absolute Looney Tunes. They throw the Bob to try to turn back the fight, and they somehow do. What is happening right now?
And part of that is that Bob stopped in quite a good place, actually, pretty much the middle of the point, and had view of everything. Really forcing those angles out. That really worked. Whether that was intentional by Domino or not, that was a great position for the Bob. Graviton Surge, though, is going to be uncontested. You need to just get the immortality field out, and that's it. Just go for one person, get the grav, just don't let it get eaten.
That's literally the only, that would be the worst case scenario to have that eaten. But we do have Carlos coming out on their own. Bob, Chicken Pro already going to be down. So for Bliss Nexus, I mean, this is just me again, not investing anything in this fight, potentially just going to back out because this fight is well and over with. You get that 99. The problem is you don't force anything out of them, really. They're still going to have 3 extremely strong ultimates going into this next fight. So Bellamy does have to make this Riptire work. It is so important.
They do, and it can be harder on attack than defense because Carlos has the pleasure of just being able to hide in a wee annoying corner and then get the funny, which they're not currently doing, to be fair, but they are taking this high ground. Valk will be able to push them through, but there's so many offensive ultimates from Ryusei that it's going to be really tough to win this next fight. You want to go quick here, force ultimates.
Ooh, Carlos is already down as well. Here comes that Riptire. Needs to find at least one with this. Is zooming around, hoping to find something. Gonna send it. Not gonna find anything, but still, it is a 5v4. It is very winnable right now. Trying to see if they can find the flip on the point. They will. That's gonna be massive, regardless of how this fight goes down. Now that grab is, the grab is ready to go. Hoping to find something. Here comes the tire coming in from Carlos. It needs to find a massive result here. Not going to, though. At least not in a way that is going to matter. But it is gonna be taken out anyway. And suddenly, Gio, this game looked over about 4 minutes ago, and suddenly we're on the 5th and final point. Bliss Nexus are potentially have brought their way back into this, but they are going to be at a big ult disadvantage going into this fight.
From the borders to Orkney, they talk of the pride of Scotland, and that's Bellamy there in that fight. Came in clutch because that tire could have done some devastating stuff. 2-2 here. We're very close. This is the most competitive match we've seen so far, and that's very, very good for Bliss Nexus. It seems like they're starting to get into it. Perhaps it was a warm-up issue. They just have to watch for ultimates, like getting picks like that.
Yep, and the grab is going to get eaten. A nice breakfast there for Ghost. Going to eat that away, creating the 4v4. Domino trying to zone in on Shadowy, who is super low. Is eventually going to take them out. Bliss Nexus going to take over this point, and they're going to start with it. And this is the opposite story now. Ryusei are the ones that drained some of their ult to win that fight. And Bliss Nexus, they're coming out to 3 of theirs. This is now Ryusei is the ones that look like they're going to struggle coming into this fight.
Nom nom, says Ghost, and well earned. Bliss Nexus are looking real good now. Dominant Mass is Domino Mass. I said dominant just as a Freudian slip because they're looking dominant. Getting these picks with this pocket, it's working out real well.
Oh, yeah, 100%, and already Ultimate Slay going to be going down. Domino going to manage to stay alive, getting a lot of support from Chicken Pro, and it's weird that somehow this Mercy pick has worked out the best, just using the utility to be able to empower Domino and Ghost to an extent, and now 60% coming up. Shadowy could drop out of mech here as well. The Immortality Field going to get used, and unfortunately Logan's going to get caught in the trap, and now 70% and counting. Ryusei, they're going to be able to touch, but it might have to be a bit of a rushed one, honestly.
Bliss Nexus has both support ults, so do Ryusei. The difference is Bellamy's closer to the tire. That tire comes out early, it finds just one person, and that's it. Ryusei's lost their Vasa and Bliss Nexus. They might just be on their way to reverse sweeping.
It's possible, but Bellamy went off the edge, it seems, so now instantly a 5v4, but Hamburger's still alive, using the window
Overtime.
to do it. They barely make it back to the point in time, but Domino is just fighting body after body. The bomb's gonna go up on the point. It gets 2! And Bliss Nexus are fighting back. They hold them off, and they finally get themselves a map at Geo. They are making the steps to that reverse sweep. What an incredible comeback on Saravasa to get the momentum to keep themselves alive in the series.
Da 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 da. Oh, I'm in the rocky mood right now. Bliss Nexus, they have struck back, and suddenly the crowd is aghast. You typed it there, Sam is in shambles, because no longer is Ryusei going to 3-0 this. No longer is this going to be a one-sided dominant statement from Ryusei. Bliss Nexus have said, hello honey, we're here to play too.
Yeah, 100%, and I think you would agree with me that looking at those two sub-maps, it just did not seem like it was going to happen. It just seemed like the spam damage was a little too much. But they swap things up a little bit. They go to the David, they bring in the Mercy, they pull it back, they make it work. They just empower Domino, who, remember we looked at the stats earlier, it's not like they were doing worse than Ultimate Slay. They were doing about as good, and now they come into this, I will say statistically, we'll see in a moment, potentially doing better. And they managed this amazing comeback, and now they obviously have to carry this momentum forward, but this should have been a dead game 3 minutes ago, but this is incredible, and that eat as well?
Yeah.
again, the story of this feels like a different team. I keep having to go back and forth on that one now, Gio.
Yeah, I'm. Part of me's thinking, are we now seeing the downside to swapping back and forth on the tank lineup? Because you could argue there that just getting a dive and forcing Domino Mast out with a Doomfist would have been a good choice, but clearly that's not within the hero pool of this particular setup of the team. In fact, it's Ultimate Slay who found himself getting caught out a lot, and I think that's probably down to Domino Mask getting so many of those early eliminations. But there was a Junkrat back and forth here, a duel between Carlos and Bellamy.
Yeah, 100%, and just one thing we have to look at, that damage comparison.
Oh!
Bellamy, less than half of the damage that Carlos did, but at the same time, compare the eliminations, and especially compare those final blows, managing 14 in comparison to Carlos's 5. Bellamy was someone that was very aggressive with their Junkrat as well, and managed to pull off something very incredible, but at the end of the day, I think it was just this combined effort, this combined comeback from Bliss Nexus to bring that one back, to keep them alive in this series, but we still have to acknowledge the fact that that was an extremely close point. They were one fight away from the series being over.
Yeah, this is why, right? See if you're in your rank game or in a quick play and you start flaming someone because of stats like that, right? You don't see final blows, for example, in the scoreboard in Overwatch. That's something that's hidden. 14 final blows to I think it was 5 or 4 is a massive difference, but you wouldn't see that in a scoreboard because all you'd see is, oh, they've got double their damage, yada yada yada, not doing enough, yada yada yada. But clearly Bellamy was a little bit more efficient then, technically, going for those squishies, and a lot of that damage, to be fair, for Carlos would have been those that triple tire, where 3 people immediately from full health to 0 health. That was an amazing, sneaky little play, but I feel like, I don't know, I'm feeling the spiritual energy coming from Bliss Nexus now, and I really, really think we're going to see a map 5 if this energy stays up.
Well, I think it's definitely the possibility, because we have to look at what our next map is going to be. Of course, we're going to be going over to Push, and it's going to be Coliseo, which, I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's much of a chance of the compositions changing up. I think, quite honestly, that within Bliss Nexus, they should keep either the exact same comp or run something extremely similar. It is clearly what is working for them, and you have the ability to still play high or like long range, to play on the high grounds with the Sojourn and the Mercy, and just be able to have the D.Va to be able to go between them and the other support to keep them alive. I think they should go through with that. But again, we reverse back around to what Ryusei is going to do now, because they had something down lock and key, and then it just stopped working. So what do you do now?
I think if I'm in Ryusei's position, and I'm thinking about the 2 maps that we won, I think we see the dominance in the Doomfist dive. That was probably the most dominant composition we saw them on. Coliseo doesn't really. It's not really that amazing for a Doomfist dive. Narrow corridors, the glass isn't gone yet, guys. It does mean that you can play something, brawly, or something that likes long, narrow corridors. It's all about how you support your flanking players. Like if you bring, for instance, Shadow back on the Echo and they flank while the bot's in the middle, how do you support Shadow? Because they're going to be disconnected from you if you're on the point. So this is going to be more challenging if they go for that. Otherwise, we saw some good spam from them on King's Row. There's plenty of options here, but it looks like I'm getting word that Ryusei have done the big swap, and it is maybe tending to what I was talking about.
Yeah, that is a metric ton of swaps right there. I don't know what to really say and compare it to, quite honestly, because we see 4 different swaps. Most of these are just people being put around into different positions once again. I mean, Gio, you had an idea, but I honestly could not tell you what is cooking in the kitchen. But, I mean, we saw Ryusei do some level of swaps with around rolls earlier. It worked out very favorably for them. There's a chance it happens again, but, I mean, just to double down with you, like, what do you make out of the fact that 4 out of the 5 players have either been swapped in, out, or just 2 different roles? That is a massive change.
Yeah, I mean, to an ordinary team, to an ordinary scrim team that only have 5 players, very few teams will have more than 5. This looks mad. This looks like an insane thing that is happening. But it does work. You know, the proof is in the pudding. We saw it in the first 2 maps. Ultimately, we did only see them on the Doomfist. We didn't get to see what other tanks are available. We haven't seen Shadow play, for example, Ramatra, so maybe that's an ultimate Slay hero. We don't really know the ins and outs of what tanks can and can't be played from each player. So this doesn't necessarily mean we're likely to see a Doomfist. We could see a Junker Queen, we could see a Ramatra, you know, these tanks that we haven't yet seen. From Bliss Nexus, though, of course, Ghost is their try and true, their constant on the tank role. Bellamy now still on the DPS with Domino. I think that's a good choice. Hamburger, Chicken Pro still on the support. Ghost is a very consistent player overall. We've seen them do very well on different tanks, been caught out sometimes. I mean, I think the weakest we've seen them is on the Doomfist when they had to mirror. So you don't want to mirror the Doomfist. That's something we don't want to do. To be fair, there's less chances of falling off the map here, but still. Oh no!
Ooh.
This is this bait.
No.
Absolute bait. Nah, I don't believe it.
I mean, to talk about the real composition that makes sense, Bliss Nexus, literally the same thing except for a recent set of a diva. I think that's great. It's giving you a lot of stability. And Ryusei, we're just
there we go.
Us. They are going back to the Doomfist composition. But compared to what Bliss Nexus ran the very first time on Ilios compared to now, they should have a much easier time. So it's just going to come down to Wild Reaper and Ultimate Slaying, kind of coordinating on these dives they're going to make, probably on Chicken Pro and Hamburger.
Yeah, and this Junkrat's going to be real tough for the opposing team. Domino keeps doing it. Domino keeps doing this to Wild.
Oh my goodness gracious, getting rid of Wilder out the gate. Make that another one. Domino coming out the gate saying they're the superior hit scan. And that's going to be a clean first fight for Bliss Nexus. And potentially going to get rid of Logan as well, trying to see if they can burn. That was an amazing throw with the dynamite too. What? Now this is the Bliss Nexus we should have seen from map 1. Where were these guys hiding, Hachio?
I'm putting my I'm putting my pun gloves on. Okay, I'm taking my pun gloves off. Okay, they got res, they're back on. The dominoes are starting to fall for Bliss Nexus. They're starting to really get into their stride here, and putting resources into Domino is definitely the choice here. Oh god, they're in the middle of Ryusei.
Yeah, and Hamamauga nonetheless. It's going to be a ton of damage to pump through. Domino going to struggle to stay alive, eventually going to be taken out. Ghost also going to struggle to a viable degree as well, as Ultimate Slay literally just climbed the walls when he's Spider-Man, managing to stay alive, but eventually taken out. And now Shadowy in the background trying to do some damage. Needs to use the TP to try to get out of there. Going to be able to do so. I don't know if Bellamy knows. Bellamy lacks the critical information. And it's looking like you're going to hit the reset button. But still, get the initial progress. You're able to keep Chicken Pro alive for the moment. But losing them, it's going to be tough. But they should be able to regroup in time to touch once more. Oh.
Yeah, you can't even get done talking and Domino takes somebody's head off. You have to be real careful where you put your head. They keep doing it. But going for Mauga against Orisa. Orisa does have the tools to deal with you, obviously, when she's in Chef. Going crits. Domino!
What is going on here? And Ultimate Slay, by the way, was just going for a wraparound to the high ground, and unfortunately that happens while they are gone. So now Ghost literally needs to focus on staying alive, eventually pushing out Bellamy, who's going to use their Wraith and is now going to be in a really exposed position, as right now Bliss Nexus should be able to just run this down a little bit at the very least. But that was a prediction. That's fair. You know what? I don't judge. But now they're going to go with the Coalescence. Here we see Bellamy going to find nobody, unfortunately, and Bellamy eventually going to go down in their own right. Chicken Pro does manage to throw in, and Bliss Nexus is going to double down and is going to throw in the beat to be able to counteract that Terror Surge, and eventually going to come away with this fight win. It should be able to beat the progress of Bliss Nexus, and Bliss Nexus, I don't know what you do now at this point, because now, actually, they could break a test, actually, Gio. They were pushing that thing the entire time.
That is true. I do want to say that that's actually something we didn't mention. Cardiac Overdrive really ruins tires because of a damage reduction of 30%. Just can't get some of those higher health heroes. So that's a real big clutch moment for them there. They have the Cage as well. You can combine Cage and Blossom for a deadly combo if you wanted.
Yep, here comes the Cage fight, given onto Ghost, and only Ghost right now, who is eventually going to get drained away out of this mech. Here we are, the back one, Shadow Fall 2! perfect timing. And that's going to get them the lead at last for Ryusei. Going to take it back over. Oh, no. I mean, your silver lining is Ryusei do use a lot of those ults in the past 30 seconds. Bliss Nexus coming up on a couple more eventually, but that window's really going to be the big player. But still...
Lord Reaper. Yeah, just Lord Reaper. That's the analysis. Dropping in from above, getting that Blossom was perfect. They're not going to have too much here. They can build this EMP. That EMP needs to be their win condition, though, because they don't have much else, and they'll be up against a window in this high ground.
Yeah, and we're back to that thing of the Cardiac Drive being used first, and it gets used by Ultimate Slave first. Here comes that window. Ultimate getting super low. Really needs to be taken out. Honestly, they need to go down, but it's Hamburger that's going to go down instead, and now this is going to be devastating, but yet, we're seeing that comeback still taking place. It is not over yet, as Ghost just needs to find another target. Gonna dive in deep. Eventually gonna land directly on top of Ultimate Slays. The back and forth, the mountains both super low as Ultimate Slay is literally one health. Eventually drained away. This is a massive advantage for Bliss Nexus now, who just need to keep Ghost alive. Is gonna come in deep, and we're seeing the Coalescence being used. They really want to win this fight, and they managed to find one. They're looking to get the second with the chicken throw, and Ryusei somehow keep that one alive, pull it back. They get that butt scratch, the checkpoint. That was a massive fight win for Ryusei there.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, Swedish Deal's looking like the Hamburglar there. Getting that boop off the map was the perfect thing that they needed. Now Ryusei, they're on their way to stop this reverse sweep and secure this free one to claim their spot. EMP lurking.
Oh no, that is 4 people. 2 of them are already dead. Bellamy has those at the tire though, hoping to find somebody, but the B came out, and eventually Bellamy going to get out. Logan does go down. I mean, hey, fair enough, but I mean, at the end of the day, just the Malga's coming out, and I mean, I don't know how to compare this to you.
I think we haven't seen a Mauga yet from Bliss Nexus. It seems like a bit of a Hail Mary just to mirror it and see what will happen. You still have Domino on the Ash looking for those picks, but again, it's going to be a lot more difficult, especially if you're getting hacked up by a Sombra. You do have the Bob and Beat, but ultimately you have to watch out for the impending Cage Blossom combo. Cage already up.
Oh my goodness, and yeah, gonna shred Ultimate and Shadowy, gonna cancel it, and just burn up the last couple of members that are gonna try to stall out long enough for everyone to be able to get that good spawn, which with that last pick coming through, Wild Reaper's gonna be able to get out. I believe everybody's gonna get the good spawn. I think it might be kind of close for Shreddish, but I do think everybody is gonna get it.
I think there was a little bit of like that Squid Ink response when we came to the Bob there. You know, just bobbing out of like, oh, there's people, Bob. You could really use that here, create an off angle to push in, especially since you know the Ultimate Slay is coming up to this cage. Oh, their health though.
Oh boy. Yep, getting super low, gonna go in, gets hit with a stun, I think from getting countered, and eventually Bliss Nexus is gonna bring back this fight Shadowing. He's gonna try to stay alive, try to find at least one. Luckily did not go for the Death Blossom, still gonna have it for the next fight, and now Ryusei will be able to make another fight happen as well, but Wild Reapers is going to go down as well, so this touch... I mean, it's still a doable touch. They could just come from the high ground and just hold the back on top.
Ryusei, they're up against another 2 free team fights if they want to get the lead here. So they do have to be in for the long haul. They've got the Coalescence though, and that's going to really power them through the cage, because that Coalescence can pierce cage and heal the folks stuck inside of it.
Yep, and right now you see the stall going through for Ultimate Slay. Gonna throw down it right there, an interesting spot to bring it down on. It's really just holding it in place down below, and now we see that B coming through. Gonna go in deep with that. Let's find Ultimate Slay. That is the important thing we need to find. Here comes the counter directly back. Shadowy just managed to find one. Needs to find a second. They will.
Oh my god!
It's a combination that is so fantastic. Bliss Nexus needed to win that fight really badly. Unfortunately, not able to come away with it as Ryusei, they swapped the ball for a moment. I imagine they're going to go back and swap it back. I would imagine.
The DPS really came on top for Ryusei there. Yeah, Shadowy and Wild Reaper sounds like 2 people who really like playing Reaper, but Shadowy on the Reaper, Wild Reaper's on the Sojourn. This is very tough now with 2 minutes remaining. Nexus need to be very good about how they're playing this as the opener rush.
Yep, 100%. That beat going to come through as well. Just really trying to win this fight to the best of their ability. As Ultimate Slay did get hacked as well. Is in a weird position. Literally just getting drained away right now. Trying to stay alive, but Bellamy's going to be the first one to go down. And in fact, we just have the trades going back and forth. But at the end of the day, Ryusei, again, coming out the winners of this fight. Going to be able to reenact the checkpoint. Ghost He's gonna struggle to stay alive.
Oh,
here.
no.
Just getting drained away. Literally has to run back and forth, but Ghost is gonna go down late. So Ryusei gonna get this bot all the way back and a little bit more progress added onto it as well.
I mean, in a 1v1 scenario, a Wrecking Ball to a Mauga is like a little training dot that you use to train your accuracy. Oh, Wild Reapers has been found out. They do know that the overclock's up there. Shadow needs to force back.
Yep, needs to find one hit on these. Oh, the thing unintentionally just saved Chicken Pro, by the way. That was incredible, but now Wild Reaper is literally in a position where they cannot be saved. That point, though, 1.8 meters away. If they lose this fight, it is over with, as Ghost is going to head back over to that D.Va. Bellamy trying to survive as Hamburger, eventually going to get a pick on that Iliari, able to turn things around, and Ultimate Slay just going to have to stall out for a little bit. But it's looking like they're going to focus on actually trying to stay alive, so Ryusei should be able to recontest. Oh, I was going to say recontest before the halfway, but very good stagger.
Yeah, they're still going to get the forward spawn. There's 45 seconds remaining. And essentially what that means is we're going to be in overtime if Bliss Nexus wants to win this map. If they want to stay in this series and bring it to 2-2, they need to be fighting in overtime and they need to win multiple fights in a row. They cannot out-dump this next fight. They cannot lose any next fight.
No, it isn't possible anymore, unless it was literally at this very moment, sure. But the EMP is going to come out, going to catch onto Shadowwing. It is very important picks they managed to find, and that is all they need, is to use that EMP, as the mines are going to come out. Going to get nobody for the moment being, a lot of people low, but that cart is getting moved for the time being. Going to see the contestment available to activate the overtime, and now, Gio, there are no second chances. There are no do-overs. You need to win this here and now. It's going to be 2, maybe 3 fights, maybe 4, God forbid, to take this one back. Bliss Nexus have to be perfect.
Overtime spawns. There's that. Any pick now is vital for either side. You see Shadow looking to potentially go for this Blossom. Almost gets hacked up. Beat comes out.
Ooh. Yeah, that Bob's going to come out, and it is Sayonara. Catch you later on the other side. Ghost not able to get this mech as well, and Shadowy is going to clean things up here. It is just going to be Chicken Pro throwing in that Immortality Stone from high. Unfortunately, not going to be able to make it work. Bliss Nexus try their best to bring it back here for the reverse sweep. Ryusei shutting it down with the Mauga and then the Wrecking Ball. And it's impressive to come back like that, because for Bliss Nexus, they had something really good going for the beginning few minutes, but Ryusei just kept dominating and getting it back all the way to the very end. And Bliss Nexus, for any team, trying to come back from that is just so incredibly difficult.
Yes. And, man, this is why streaming a tournament is just so much better. Why Friday Night Overwatch is so good. These guys, the squad of Ryusei, were one of the first teams we watched, and they got 3-0'd, and it was a pretty one-sided affair. And you know, some of the players of Ryusei, they got down because of it. They should have their heads high right now. Not only is it because they've won, but they have proven themselves that they are just getting better with time. Right? You give this another 2 months, what does this team look like? Maybe they'll be in the top half of the standings in Season 14. Maybe they even make a shock push for the playoffs and to the end of the season, which I don't know where the cutoff is. I don't know how realistic that is, but you never know with a team that shows so much improvement over such a short time.
Honestly, yeah, and I'm really excited to see for both these teams, all things considered, because from the level of play that we originally saw from Ryusei when they were on Friday Night Overwatch originally compared to now, it is such a massive difference. And in their own right, Bliss Nexus are still doing very good. Once they find their stride, they can get a lot going, but both these teams, I think, just need to find that consistency. They'll still have the opportunity to do so, but kind of looking at these stat lines, I mean, you want to compare the stats, like Bliss Nexus, like looking still really good overall, but you look at Logan, able to dump out 10k heals, able to get 4 of their own ultimates online, very impressive, especially you look at these depth as well. It's just that comparison of healing a little bit from Logan compared to Chicken Pro and Hamburger. Logan just putting in, honestly, a ton of work in the support role.
Yeah, Logan really did a lot of work. I mean, literally all of them. Logan switched deals with some great boops there, especially onto Hamburglar. Okay, my analogy's gone away with me, and now I'm just calling the player straight up Hamburglar. I apologize. Every single one of the players, but also Shadow's story we've talked about only had one scrim before the first Friday Night Overwatch, and since then has really worked on the craft on both DPS and tank. Looked really good. To do that is not easy. Ultimately, on both tank and DPS, looked really good. This is not easy to do, but they're doing it, and they've got such a unique style of being able to swap the players about that's really, really working for them. Bliss Nexus also have that flexibility, and they showed in the last two maps that ultimately, while it's a free one, it doesn't tell the whole story. You run this back in 2 weeks or a month, it could be a different situation. These teams are very close in skill level. The story of today is that Ryusei, they needed it more. They wanted it more. They were hungrier for it, and they got it done in the end.
Yeah, they 100% did, and like this has the makings of one of those games you see in the lower bracket when you get to those playoffs. It's definitely a possibility. It's not impossible for them both to make it. They do have to keep going from here, though. But of course, Gio, that is much further down the line and far off from the date that we're currently on. But I mean, as for today, it's been very impressive. I love seeing what seemed like a pretty close matchup, especially when we get to that second half. But of course, we do have our lovely desk that's going to be able to bring us all the action. Gio, that includes you, so you should probably probably run over there. But we appreciate you guys, and we'll bring it over to the desk to show you guys all of the action that we've had here today in the EU region.
I'm basking for a second in the glow of a Ryusei cosmic win and a prediction that on opposite ends of the desk is quite delicious. Now, Spectreon, I gotta start with you, buddy, because you are now... I hate to bring this up. I hate to push the pressure point. But you're now 0-4 on the predictions. But what happened here? We were on the desk. We were watching the game. It feels like we're coming out of a fever dream right now.
A lot of things happened. We saw a lot of different heroes. We saw a lot of different compositions. We saw a hell of a lot of different playstyles. And we saw Ryusei coming out the gate swinging on this Doomfist. They were fantastic at it, actually. Really engaging. I thought they played that really well. But it felt like once we started moving over to those later maps, once we saw some roll swaps coming through, Shadowy over to the tank, then the state of the game, I don't want to say deteriorated, but it felt like we were watching two entirely different rosters, and due to the roll swaps to subs, it kind of were. I want to kind of remind the viewer at home that on the first map, Ghost 75 was able to punch off the map not once, but twice in quick succession. As an idea of the kind of game that we had to watch, and as for my Preds, I don't know if I'm just the worst analyst known to man. I don't know if God himself has it out for me. I don't know if I'm just a bad Pachamari of CGL, but as it stands, they're not working out for me. And if there's any betting going on with CGL, make sure you always go against my Pred.
Now,
Yes.
Money-making opportunity.
just start farming
Business
those
and
dollar
that.
bills. Start farming them, run the racket, and get it going.
Yeah, I want
Megaless.
to jump on top real quick because I don't think I've ever heard Spectron predict something and it be true.
Listen,
Like
I'm-
you're very good at your meta analysis and your understanding of the game, but when it comes to predicting a team, I don't know what happens to you. You're cosmically cursed.
And it's hilarious too, because Spectreon will go, they will look at the VODs, they'll talk to the teams, they'll get the pulse, they'll get the heartbeat, and then everything just descends into what we saw in front of us right now. Megaless, I do want to come over to you because when we were talking about the predictions, you said it would be kind of crazy to get the 3-0. Now, we didn't get that, but I would say it's still pretty close, and a 3-1 is kind of still insane, especially for the team that we thought was going, well, for lack of a better word, were the underdogs.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I, as well as, some other people here on the desk, really underestimated the improvement this team has been showing in such a short amount of time, right? We're able to sort of touch on it in the pre-show, but Shadow being a massive contributor, just sort of learning and growing with the team, and they talked about how just overall they focused on that, just being able to sort of grow as a team, even if the results don't come right away, but I mean, they looked pretty good. Sure, it got a little bit silly in the middle there, a lot of hero swaps coming through, but at the end of the day, a win's a win.
Things were getting real silly. Gio, you were the boots on the ground at eye level with everything that was happening. I'm pretty sure we got almost the entire Overwatch hero roster.
Certainly felt like it.
It's what it felt like, right? It felt like we were leaning towards that direction. Now, when we see things like this and when we are getting crazy moments and with everything being thrown at the wall in the kitchen sink, Bliss Nexus were only able to take one map, and it was still a map that went all of the way. It was on Surabasa. It was 3-2. But what happened that Bliss Nexus just wasn't able to find anything more than that?
Yeah, I mean, Survasa obviously is the map that they won, and I think they found the right combination of spice that worked, and they tried to bring the spice to Colosseo, and then Mauga came out and ruined their fun. And I think, basically, as soon as that Mauga came out, they were just struggling. Wrecking Ball came out at the very, very end, but by that point, the bot had moved so much in the favor of Ryusei that there wasn't really much to be done.
Not at all. It's so weird when you think about everything that has just happened tonight. I'm sorry, that's really all I gotta say about it. It's all just so weird. You have an idea of what Overwatch is supposed to be like, and with OWCS, there's like guidelines, right? You sort of things start popping up in your head, but at the end of the day, the team still fell back on what they were most comfortable with. And honestly, I guess comfortability was just in the purest state known as chaos. There wasn't really anything to be found. It was just whatever. Well, whatever. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I mean, we got to see Mauga Spectrum, and that was
we saw a Junkrat mirror. Mauga, I don't despise. He's not appalling. We saw a Junkrat mirror in my Overwatch, in my Masters CGL tournament. We need to put laws against this. We need to call the FBI. We need to call the President of the United States. We need to make this never happen again, because this is not real. This is imaginary. Someone has messed with the script. I do not like it.
And we were this
Carlos has the jade weapon.
Exactly.
We were this close to seeing Brigitte coming out of the spawn. They switched onto it. They remembered your spicy take, Spectreon. They didn't want to draw your ire. They didn't want to get the nuke set upon them. So it's been an insane evening. It's been crazy here at CGL Friday Night Overwatch. And now we need to do the crazy task of actually sifting through everything and picking our MVP. This was I would say actually was pretty simple for us. We saw one player rise above the rest, and one that we thought really exemplified everything that we think stands up to the name of MVP. And that none other than goes to the player themselves, Shadow. The one who got lambasted on the previous Friday Night Overwatch that we saw Ryusei Cosmic on, really improved in spades, flexing between tank and DPS. Megaless, you gave me a really good reason. They got that Riz.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if those were the words I used. I'm gonna go ahead and just stake that one out there.
It's close enough for me. I may have paraphrased on that one.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, it shows when a player is willing to learn and improve exactly like Shadow has from the last time we talked about them, just being able to dedicate that sort of time and energy to the game to getting better. And just overall, like, you notice the impact, right? Whether it was on tank or on DPS, you know, you noticed every single time Shadow was on the field because they were having an impact, either creating space, getting crazy kills that honestly, sometimes there was really no rights to be getting those kills. It truly is amazing to see a player pop off at that level.
I think nothing exemplifies that more, Spectreon, than the Death Blossom that we saw on Colosseo, that in any universe, except for this one, would have ended in complete and utter failure.
That was a silly fight. That was a 3-on-5 converted by the DPS, both finding a full house between the two of them. And yeah, it is a Death Blossom from Shadowy that takes care of two members, brings it into even scenario, then the Ashe is able to clean it up. As you mentioned, that's just simply never have happened. I have no idea how that fight unfolded, but clearly Shadowy recognized the opportunity, capitalized on it in a way that none of us ever would have. And because of that, yeah, their team has been catapulted into a victory. You didn't have to go to a map 5 here in this series. So fantastic for them. Recognize that opportunity, recognizing that the cage maybe wasn't as perfectly positioned as maybe it could have been. And as I mentioned, gets to complete the map on Colosseo.
It's the level of display and skill that we got from Shadowy Geo. I'm in awe. of what they were able to accomplish when it came to how the roles they were occupying were going. But not only that, looking back on King's Row, they were playing the Sigma. And that Sigma was a force to be reckoned with, and then can just casually go back onto DPS like it was nobody's business.
Yeah, we throw around a word a lot sometimes. It doesn't really do justice. Talent, right? And if you think about talent, that's kind of like a base level, right? That's when you're like naturally good at something. Dedication to your craft and working on what you are doing, specifically improving and elevating yourself to the next level. That is what is really impressive. Talent's one thing, but that dedication is another. And that's what Shadow has shown. That's what the whole roster of Ryusei has shown since the last time we saw them. And we're picking up Shadow right now because they deserve it, but a lot of players do as well. I mean, yes, the junk mirror was a little silly, a little shocking to see, but Bellamy did really well on it against Carlos, who clearly is a Junkrat player, or at least has the Jade weapon for Junkrat and is invested in the hero. Ultimately as well, able to flex between roles, and was a really good Doomfist when he needed it on Elios, and all supported by a fluctuating, but still consistently good backline. I think this Ryusei roster is looking real nice.
I think so too. I'm excited to see how the future is going to go for them. Now, before we end the show, I do want to get some final thoughts. Starting off with you, Megalas.
I mean, it's just super interesting. A nice little win like this on the board. And while, necessarily the season didn't start that pretty for them, Cosmic, there might be a path in, get a few more wins like this on the board, have a few other matches go your way, see if you can sneak your way up the standings. But, at the end of the day, a match, a win's a win, and you'll gladly take it.
Hey, absolutely will. Spectreon, final thoughts, my friend.
Another day, another Dextron airball for the OG.
Woo! He whiffs so good. And Gio, yourself.
Yes, there's the unknown that people are afraid of, that scary Lovecraftian idea of the unknown, but also that chaos can be magic and beautiful. And today, Cosmic, Ryusei, they showed that magic today. You can't quite analyze it, you can't quite pin it down to what it is, but you can feel it. It's magic, and it's in the air, and it's infecting the whole of CGL.
That is poetic, Gio. That is the
I feel bad for my final thoughts.
Yeah, no, I'm just over here sitting like, okay, all right, we're about to close out the show, and now Gio is, yes, we got the D&D player over here. Okay, all right, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching, but make sure you go ahead and follow CGL because we have more exciting Friday night Overwatch action happening on the NA side of things. If you're EU, might be asleep at that time, but who knows? Maybe you'll still be up and need some amazing entertainment because we have Sussy Sloss versus Snowfall at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and then Cerberus Esports versus Workers Union at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're gonna have a double header for North America on CGL Friday Night Overwatch happening over there. But from myself, Megalas, Spectreon, Gio, and to our amazing producer and observer in the background, Beam Garden and Hippie, and to our caster, Hunter Tane. I'm not going to say your name again, Gio, even though I just did. I'm not going to give you credit. Hey, your dice, you need to look at your dice, by the way. Your dice kind of messed up there, big time.
Well, whenever I'm in combat against my players as a DM, I never roll high anyway, so I'm not shocked.
Yeah, the roll's failing you, and well, it translates here into CGL. All right, anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see all of you on tonight's broadcast.